Mr.Mosh Sandy or Sandy Mosh African, of course, journalist, PR practitioner, media coach, and Lord Councillor 5, newly elected for Machine East 3, that is Gaba in Kansanga Parish. I'm going to represent the people of Gaba and Kansanga Parish at City Hall 2021 up to 2026. Then I'll tell you what I'll be doing next. Of course, in media, I've done radio and TV, plus of course I've done some writing here and there, and content production and content creation. For radio, I've only worked for one station, that is Galaxy FM, for a whole 8 years. And then at TV, I combined, of course TV, in total it is 15 years, but TV, I've worked for WBS TV, that was 1 year, Urban, that is 2 years, then Spark, that is 4 years. And of course, that is my experience in the music industry. I've done some collaboration with different artists, and of course I've helped nurture some artists and build and develop some artists before. But currently, my emphasis is onto one thing: trying to build the future big stars of this nation. I'm running a talent training center, that is Zenji Talent Academy. This is where I am right now. A project meant to uplift and train Ugandan youth interested in the arts and media field, trying to give them practical knowledge, practical skills, in that I prepare them for the job market, because I've been in the job market. I know exactly the problems they are about to face, the challenges, what they will find, what is needed for somebody to join the industry. So it is better for me to give back and show them the way, guide them, in that we build a bigger industry in Uganda, because our industry is ailing. We lack talent. You look at different TV stations, it is always a hassle trying to get media personalities or guys that are going to work. Even radio stations, it's always a hassle. That's why you're going to see the same faces on this TV. So and so leaves this TV station, goes to the other TV station. So I'm trying to bridge that gap, create as many talented people as possible, in that whoever comes up with a project in media or the arts in general, there is manpower, there is personnel, and of course whoever needs fresh blood, there is always a bigger supply of fresh blood, because you can never tell me that there is enough talent out there. Even in the US, where you see, like, they have the biggest number of media stations, both TV, radio and online, but of course you still find new faces every day mushrooming and coming up. So it's better for the whole country and of course the continent at large. That's why we are here at Zenji. A brand is something that most people always do not look at, yet it's the key in everything. You might be a politician, a football player, a musician, a TV presenter, a rally driver, but of course there are those that stand out, in that when you mention this name, so and so, everybody notices. So what it takes to build a brand is having some distinction, being unique, and of course being that person with something that is outstanding, something that is not so common, something that is totally unique to them, something that you can't find anywhere else. The moment you have that with you, that is the very first step in building your own brand, having a big brand. We've seen very many people, for example, lots of players. Let me give you an example of a team like Juventus. It has lots of players, but whenever they are going to play, on the poster you're going to see the picture of Ronaldo Cristiano. Even if he's 35, he's no longer scoring as much as he used to score before. But of course you're going to find Cristiano Ronaldo, because he built a brand. He built something around himself. He not only performed, but he built something outside the pitch, away from the pitch. The reason I'm using Cristiano Ronaldo as an example, because he started building his brand when way back when he was still at Manchester United. Of course, Arsenal is a better team, but he started building his brand when he was back at Manchester United, and he got noticed. Like whenever he could stand to take a free kick or a penalty, he had a specific way he stood to take his free kicks and penalty. And as a person that plays FIFA part-time for fun, of course that was even taken straight into FIFA. When you see somebody standing like this, you just notice this is Cristiano Ronaldo. Of course, he came up with what we call specific haircuts, specific fashion sense. Like, it is a combination of lots of things, and the way he was doing his stuff on the pitch, of course, gave him that brand value. And he was sold to Real Madrid as one of the most expensive players ever. And of course, from Madrid, he continued up to Juventus. And so far, currently, he's the biggest brand, global brand on social media anywhere. He has numbers that beat different TV stations, different football clubs, and all that. That is an explanation of a brand. So, if you want to create a personal brand, you must be known for something. You must stand for something. You must have something totally unique. Now, if you may ask me, what is my what differentiates me from the rest? What makes me different? What makes me different is I came into the music industry with a bigger plan. I didn't come in as an artist, as somebody who wanted to come sing and make a hit and go on. No, I came in as a person who had looked at lots of different entertainment industries globally, and I noticed whatever they were doing, and none of that was being done here in Uganda. Because when you look, for example, let me say, when you watch TV, you're going to find almost the same programs, duplicated programs at the same times. People do not want to come up with fresh stuff. When you look at the singing industry, there's a time when somebody comes up with something fresh and everybody else wants to jump onto that. That's the biggest problem. That's why you see lots of new guys come up every single year, and after 1 or 2 years, you don't hear from them. So if you do not have a brand, if you don't build a brand, you're going to fade out and nobody's going to hear from you. So I'm one person that loves to reinvent. Of course, all around the same thing, but I'm one person that loves to reinvent. You're going to find me at one time doing some little bit of freestyle or doing a collab with somebody. Then you're going to find me on stage emceeing an international event. Then you're going to find me on radio. Then you're going to find me writing for a newspaper or a website. Then you're going to find me create a movie. You're going to find me come up with an event, execute it and do everything. Now I'm training people to do all that because I notice not so many people can handle that. That's the best way to keep a brand. Reinvent yourself, be fresh at all times, and of course, don't lose track of what's happening. Be in touch with whatever is happening. In this era of social media, there is no way you can lay back and say you're not in touch with the latest trends and what's happening. You're supposed to keep abreast with whatever is happening. So that's the best way to build a brand. Of course, be unique. Yeah, be unique. In Uganda, if you're to look for any presenter, I'm the only presenter that has been doing it every single morning or evening, starting my links with a freestyle. Like, while some other people I found in the industry were being all serious and all talk and stuff like that, I decided to make it musical. Do a concert live on air, do stuff like that, be unique. And when they ask, what do you know about so and so, everybody will be like, oh, you mean the one that does this? That's how you build your brand. Even if it's something very small, it is part of your bigger brand. So just add that something onto it. So long as it is unique, nobody's going to duplicate your brand. And if they do, they are going to make your brand bigger. Networking is very important. And of course, the industry I've been in is the best way networking, because you get to meet lots of people, make connections, contacts, and of course those people help you along the way in whatever you're trying to do. So networking is very important, and it all comes from the fact that you take yourself in a professional way. You deal with people the way they come. Of course, you don't grow artificial wings and airs, because if you do that, you're going to cut off people that would have been potential partners or potential people, potential important people that would have been part of your network. So networking is key. The more you are connected, the more you're going to push your brand even higher and make it bigger. So networking is key. I've learned one thing, that keeping it real has made me keep it real. Because if you keep it real, everything is going to be real about you, and there won't be anything fake about it. I'm one person that doesn't fake anything. That's why part of my brand is my original name. In fact, when I was in school, when I was nobody, like in primary school, nobody had a problem with me being called Mosh, because they were like, oh, that's Mosh. But then I built that name, made it a brand name, in that nowadays people are like, okay, when you tell them I'm Mosh, they're like, okay, we mean your actual name, like your real name. I'm like, that's my name, because I built it. Most people think I built it for the stage, for media and all that, but it is my name. The very first time I stepped onto the stage, when we were at school, when they asked me, what name are we going to use, everybody was coming up with different names: Mad Elephant, Crocodile Banton, Chicken Rank, stuff like that. I was like, no, Mosh, that's my name. So keeping it real has made it in that even your deepmost relative, or your farthest relative, or the OBs and OGs and all that, can actually tell people about your brand, because you didn't change anything about it. It is your name on top of your brand, and it's what you're building. Freestyle, I should call it, it's a passion. It is a talent at the same time. It is not something anybody can do any single second. Of course, I did train myself, but there are some people that used to do it before me. Of course, guys like Kid Fox. Yeah, Kid Fox used to do it before me, and I used to admire his art. I was like, man, this guy is good. I need to practice and be as good as him. When I was getting into the industry, I trained myself. I used to listen to dance shows, even late night dance shows on the different radio stations. Basically, it was Capital and Sanyo FM, and record all those shows on tape. I used to confiscate my mom's tapes that had the likes of Mariah Carey, Whitney Houston, and of course dub, record over them and put dancehall, put the likes of Shaggy, Beanie Man, Chakademas, put all those big dancehall superstars, because I was mesmerized by dancehall. I was like, these guys are singing a very good kind of music, but the language is kind of familiar. It sounds like English. What exactly are they doing? Then I made my own research. I started reading about them, because I used to read lots of magazines and newspapers. And of course, I used to over-listen to those songs, trying to get the lyrics and know exactly what they are singing about. And of course, that's where I taught myself how to do whatever I was doing in patois, that is a Jamaican version of English. And of course, I started by cramming the lyrics to their songs, and I used to do them at school. Like that picture that has been making rounds of me, Bobby Wine, and Master Priority were Chitante Hill School. It was a Transday bash, and of course, we were the ones entertaining our fellow students. We didn't let anybody else from outside come and overshadow us, because we also had the vibe, we're entertaining them. From there on, when I started emceeing, I was like, what do I add? What else am I going to add on to my art of emceeing? Because, in fact, it's a funny story how I started emceeing. There was a daytime show. We were at school. I was at Old Kampala. Then Omrangi and House of Radio Simba had organized a Transday bash, and there was a competition. Lots of schools trying to compete, guys singing. But he knew me. He knew I was doing it already. Then he told me, why don't you come and represent your school? But since you're already doing it actively, I'm also going to pay you and put you on the poster. I was like, yes. And of course, I also went ahead and charged my school to compete on behalf, because my entertainment teacher was like, they told me you can sing, why don't you come and represent our school? I told him, you pay me. I'm not among these other students. You're supposed to pay me. What I do is different. And then I convinced Ndaus to bring Mitch. Mitch was at Sanyo FM. The reason I convinced him was very simple. I wanted to see how Mitch does his thing on stage, because deep inside me I had that dream of being on radio. I tried to convince him so that he calls upon Mitch to come and be the MC. Watch how he does his thing, so that I continue training myself on how to speak in public and join radio at a later stage. But unfortunately, Mitch could not make it on the actual day. So everyone was stuck. They didn't know who was going to be the MC. Ndaus didn't want to MC because he felt that wasn't his kind of audience. I told them, give me the microphone. But like, what are you going to? I told them, we thought you were going to sing. I told them, I will do both. So when I grabbed the microphone, I was scared of the audience. The only thing that gave me that vibe to entertain them was to tell the DJ, give me an instrumental, let me first do some dance. So then I did my freestyle and everybody liked it. And then I emceed. Like in the middle when they were a bit boring, I could throw some freestyles. Then I noticed, oh, so people like this. That's how I started building on it, practicing it a lot and watching guys like Kid Fox do it, watching videos of the likes of Beanie Man do it. And then I perfected it when I got onto radio, like every link of mine. Of course, I kicked it off with a freestyle and then got used. So that's how I started it. It's an art, but you'll even if it's an art and talent, you need to practice over time, do it over time, so that you perfect it. For starters, I went into leadership as part of my lifelong career plan and career path. Most people look at it as a mistake, as something that just came up. No, you are so mistaken, trust me. Whatever, I never do anything that I've never had on plan. Whatever I do right now, I've planned it before and I'm doing it according to script. For starters, before I even stood for the current post, the post that I won with the landslide, I need to add that, I did my manifesto 2 years ago. I designed it. Before I did it, I had to go do research. As a trained journalist, I went into the field, I went into the electorate, tried to find out exactly what their problems and what is not happening. Since I live in the same area, I knew most of the problems, but I had to find out exactly what people are saying. So I did lots of interviews, both oral and of course some others written. I did lots of interviews. I talked to different people, trying to find out exactly what was affecting them. And that's when I came up with my manifesto and the key things that I used during my campaign, which were, of course, women, because they have a bigger population. I also had to get those figures of demographics, like how many women do we have, how many people below 18, how many people above 18, how many people above 60. I had to do all that kind of research. Of course, in that it helped me a lot in doing my manifesto. And my plan, the initial plan I sold to my people, was to try and skill the youths and the women in the area or in my area. Because when you look at everybody complaining about lack of employment, it's not that they are lazy, they don't want to work, they're not skilled. Most of them went to school, they went up to university, but then what? They never got any skills, and all the skills they got, of course there are very many people out there already employed, and you can't just get in like that. They are always asked for 2 years experience, 5 years experience. That's why I saw that as a gap to fill. It's supposed to be done on a larger scale, but of course you cannot complain all the time without doing something. You need to start from somewhere. So that's what I'm selling and that's what I'm doing. And of course, as part of the school project is a personal thing. But of course, there are projects I'm setting up. The moment we are done with swearing in, which is happening next month in May, of course, those projects will already be running, because I already contacted the right people that are going to train different youths. Those that are already employed will give them more skills, teach them financial literacy. Plus, of course, push lots of sports and talent, because that's my expertise. Anything to do with sports and talent, that's stuff I've always been doing. So for that, I will personally get engaged, and we're going to make sure that the game of football, boxing, basketball, tennis, netball, of course, all those games are going to be fully promoted. Because I did my research and found out there are lots of places where guys can do that. Because in Kansala there is a church that has a tennis court, basketball court, and all that. There is a KCCA football pitch. There are lots of things we could do that the leaders that have been around have failed to actually do, because they look at anything talent related as a pastime. We still have people that think football is a pastime, or athletics is PE, or boxing is just some thugs trying to beat themselves around, and not knowing that guys are making billions and millions all over the world through sport. And it's funny that they've started seeing guys win lots of money in just seconds, but they never noticed that there is a gap. We need to train. Like, you find public pitches being sold to private investors, not knowing that just one pitch like this can groom a kid that's going to win for Uganda $50,000 in a minute, or in minutes, or in 1 hour, and that same money is going to be taxed, and that same person is going to help other relatives and of course reinvest that money in the economy. For example, if you look at all those Ugandan football players that have at least made it to semi-professional, professional level, when you come back here, most of them have football academies here. They've built apartments, supermarket shops and stuff like that because they got that money out of talent. But people still do not see the value of talent. They don't look at it as something somebody can do mainstream. There are many people that are surviving on talent alone. Like personally, whatever I've done and achieved and whoever I've met and everything is because of talent, full stop. I've not met anybody just because I give them anything different. I've opened doors and all over the place because of one thing, talent. And since I didn't have a chance to get mentorship from somebody, I had a bigger dream, so I chose to do research on my own, try to find out exactly what does somebody need to make it, how do we build the industry in Uganda. So exactly, that's what I'm going to focus on, skills training mainly, and then promotion of talent and of course supporting activities. I did Smiling Child Foundation. Okay, though I changed the name recently. Smiling Child Foundation is a charity organization. I've been using my media space, plus of course doing different events to help different children. Those are some of the reasons why I even stood for a public office. Because if you're doing it as an individual, there are some things you can't achieve. But if you have an office, you're a political leader, trust me, you have more powers to do some things and to make some things happen. So I started it to aid mainly those kids deep in the ghettos that cannot afford a book to go to school, that can't afford shoes to go to school, or a bag or uniform and stuff like that. That was my main motivation. Because growing up, there was a time I also could not afford such things. So I was like, if I don't change this, if this happened when I was a kid, and it also happens to other people, and when I'm out, it also happens to the people to come, then who's going to help? I started to use it as an example. That's why I worked with different media personalities and celebrities and artists to make that come true. We could hold events, and most of them used to say, you know what, now that I know why you're doing this event, I'm going to perform for free. And of course, when we get to visit those kids, you take me along. We even go see them and talk to them, because you have to use what you have to help the people or to achieve something you want to achieve. So that's why I started it. But of course, now that I'm into a leadership position, it is my name now. I didn't want to put my name onto it. Now I'll be forced to put my name onto it, in that if I'm to lobby for more stuff for such ghetto schools and the like, I'll need to front my name, because it stands for something and it's representing an area. So right now, I have Mr.Mosh Foundation. I switched from Smiling Child to Mr.Mosh Foundation. That's exactly what I'm doing, trying to make sure kids go to school, and of course trying to skill those that are not in school. The biggest advice is, whatever you do, learn something. Make sure you learn something. Make sure you teach yourself, get mentored, trained, or anything, but learn something. Have that one thing you know you can do. Even if it's making pancakes, please learn that and perfect it. It's what's going to make you different or a better person. Get skilled. There are lots of skills that we used to look at and laugh, like when we were at school, like man, guys that go to that university are just going to do technical institute courses. Now as we speak, whoever goes to a technical institute stands a way bigger chance of making it in life than that person doing lots of theory at a top university, paying lots of money. You find a guy that goes to a small institute, he learns how to construct, learns architecture and all that, learns how to do welding and then carpentry, and then they end up doing lots of big deals for guys that learned how to write stuff, write down stuff and count whatever they are doing and all that at bigger fees. Like for example, the person that designed this place is still designing, still putting more stuff. There's one guy that chose to go to school and learn carpentry, and then he came up, he started his own company. He's also training some other kids. In fact, very soon I'll be working with him. Whoever comes to Zenji and they want that as their skill, I will send them to that guy. Those are the kind of people we need, because trust me, the world as we knew it has already changed, and we moved away from the normal 9 to 5 office jobs. Not very many people are doing those, and if you want it, trust me, you're going to enter, like if you go in at the entry level, you're going to have to toil for over 10 or 15 years to try and climb up the ladder, and of course you're going to find lots of challenges. Uganda needs skilled personalities. Uganda needs people that are going to skill the population. Uganda only needs that. So if you're out there, learn how to do something. It does not matter whether a billion people are doing it. Learn it, perfect it, put your style and do it in a different way. Teach yourself something. Trust me, you won't regret.